Okay. Welcome to the first episode of the Pesty Wizard podcast. I'm Dylan.
Hi, I'm Jordan.
And hello, I am Sam.
Probably be a lot easier if you could actually see us, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Hopefully the camera works. We're just going to talk about some sort of film and tech stuff to begin with. We've got quite a lot to talk about because it's been a fairly interesting week.
It's been a mad week for the world.
Yeah, so the new Avengers trailer came out today, which is, what's the date today? It's the 14th of March. I mean, fairly interesting. Not as good as the first one.
Nah.
Did you guys have any sort of major opinions on it? It didn't really show too much, did it?
That's what they're doing throughout the whole marketing, really, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the first trailer had like a lot in it with the whole like opening with Iron Man sort of like
Yeah.
in the middle of space, whereas this one was just sort of.
It gives a bit more details. Like,
I feel like a lot of it was just flashbacks
yeah.
to what's already
I
happened.
quite liked it, though.
It was quite
Yeah,
interesting because it showed a lot of what's already happened within the kind of Marvel universe, but it didn't really kind of. It's good and bad at the same time, I suppose, isn't it? Because it didn't show any of the film.
No.
I mean, there's little bits of it, obviously.
Showed a few clips.
But yeah, for the most part, it was just sort of a recap.
Yeah.
It did build the hype up, though, I suppose,
Yeah.
because they just dropped out of nowhere,
Yeah.
much like they did
Yeah.
with the first one.
I'm hyped again. I sort of lost hype, but now I'm back with it, I think.
I don't know. I'd never really lost the hype because I mean, I have to admit, I did forget about it.
Yeah, for a bit.
For a little bit, but then a few of us started talking about it the other day.
Yeah.
Because we want to see if we can try and book like a midnight screening of it or something.
Yeah, that'd be good.
As like a big group of us, because that'd be sick.
And to try and avoid any spoilers that come through as well.
Oh.
Yeah, because I feel like me and Sam obviously went to go and see the last one together,
Yeah.
but we waited like quite a while.
Fuck.
Because we just didn't get a chance to go and see it. So yeah, we had to wait quite a while before we ended up going to see it.
I went on the day it came out. I remember.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
We already sort of knew
What was
loosely what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know the sort of ins and outs of the film, but for instance, I knew that Spider-Man was going to
Die.
quote unquote
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Because of all like the memes and stuff that had been around on Facebook. It was sort of really difficult to kind of not see.
Yeah, I remember seeing a meme where it was Spider-Man, and then it had
Is that I don't want to
Sand.
go start.
Yeah.
after it, and I looked at it and I thought, what the hell does that?
What's going
What's
on?
going on? And
Yeah.
then watched the film, and it all was revealed.
It all just made sense, yeah.
As soon as it started happening, I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Oh, it
no.
fucking, yeah. Ripped my heart out, really.
Yeah,
Because
Spider-Man
I
was
just didn't
always,
see it coming.
He's
yeah.
always been my favourite
Same here,
Avenger.
yeah.
I mean, even since before the Avengers films, like just the standalone Spider-Man films were always sort of like my favourite. I always loved those. So like a little part of me almost died when that happened. But I know Sam's like a massive not Avengers fan, Iron Man fan.
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan. Yeah, I love technology.
Yeah.
And he just basically represents that for me in the film because it's so his character's so like technological.
Yeah.
It's just so for me. I find it so cool. And if he was to
What
die, I'd be
What do you think
heartbroken.
will happen? Do you think anyone will die?
I think because I saw something on Facebook the other day, and it had the Avengers walking away from a gravestone, and it had Tony Stark, rest in peace, on it.
Oh Christ!
As like a fan, obviously like a fan fiction made picture.
I feel like because this is sort of
This is the last hurrah, isn't
this
it?
is the last one, isn't it? Like something big has to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like
It
Iron
has
Man
to.
is
Like,
liked across the board. Like he's
Iron Man's
he's
sort
a
of
very liked character.
he's been in pretty much every Marvel
Every
film.
single, yeah, almost.
He's one of their,
Since
one of their
the
biggest characters. He's one of their biggest income, really.
Since the start of the Marvel universe. Was Iron Man the first
Iron Man,
Marvel universe
Iron
film?
Man was the first
I
one.
think that was
came
the
out.
first one.
The first, the
And
first
he's
film.
in not only the Iron Man films, not only the Avengers films, but
Captain
every
America.
sort of. He's in Captain
He was
America.
in the Spider-Man one.
He's in Spider-Man. He's been in some of the Thor films as well. Is he like
I
had
think
minor appearances in them? Not as like a
something
makeup,
like
but I
that.
feel like he's been. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get slated now by like
Oh,
some
well.
diehard Marvel people.
I know that like in the last Thor you had Hulk, which I thought worked really well.
Yeah, but they all kind
Yeah.
of cross over anyway, don't
Yeah.
they? So,
Yeah.
and Iron Man's sort of in everything.
He's been like the heart and soul, really. So
Plus-
if they do like wrap up his story, I think the next film's like the only
I
way
feel
of
like
doing it.
they sort of have to give justice to it, because it's been such a big.
Even if he doesn't die, like if he just goes back to his wife,
they have to. It has to. Everything has to be wrapped up, doesn't it, with this last film? Because, I mean, other than the Spider-Man story, because I'm sort of let down by the fact that I don't know the ins and outs of it, but apparently the new Spider-Man film that's coming out takes place after.
Yeah, everyone like raged about it because they dropped the trailer. And you've got like Nick Fury, and he died in the last film.
Yeah, but I feel like it's sort of. I was really disappointed because I feel like it let it down massively by saying that, we've got this new Spider-Man film coming out, and also it happens after Endgame.
This next one, yeah.
So
it sort of spoils.
Everyone comes back, and it's like, well, could you have not just waited until after Endgame? For that?
To drop that, yeah.
Because now you sort of know that
what's going to happen.
Something has to happen to bring them back. You know what I mean?
It's disappointing a little bit, yeah.
Here I've brought up, I've just typed in the Avengers on Bing, and all these sort of newspapers putting up articles about it, and I'm just looking at some of the titles, and one of the titles is New Avengers Endgame trailer reveals Iron Man makes it back to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the shot where they're all walking at the end in the new suits.
Ah, yeah.
He's there.
There's a picture right here.
And so's Nebula as well.
Yeah.
So just...
Yeah.
The whole point of him
I
being...
didn't pick up on that because I didn't pay sort
but
of
could that be...
But
Could that be... Does he start off in the film in space, though?
Yeah, exactly. He's, like, lost and he's trapped.
So he obviously makes it back.
It's either, like...
But that could be a shot from before he goes there.
Or that could be a trick as well.
Yeah,
I do also feel like to just have him die in space at the start of the film.
I'd fucking love that.
Is a bit of a... No, but I feel like...
It'd be disappointing as well.
Yeah, it would be so disappointing that I don't think they'd do that to just go, right at the start of the film, he's lost in space, he doesn't make it back.
So,
why would you bother putting it in the trailer?
Like, from the last film, is he supposed to be in space from the start of the film? Or does he end up somehow there during the film?
I don't know.
Because if he
I think it looks
then he
like
makes it back and then he's that, but then
it
that
looks
could be
like
a shot
the
from
start.
before, couldn't it?
Yeah,
possibly. I mean,
they're like gearing up to go fight him, and he ends up in space and he's fucked.
I feel like
it.
they've dealt with it well in the fact that they haven't really. No one knows what's going to happen.
I know.
Like,
no one knows.
They are releasing teasers and stuff, but obviously everyone's got such different opinions, and there's no concrete kind of evidence as to what's going to happen.
Should be interesting.
So it's going to make a plus. I think the cut's supposed to be like something like 3 hours.
It's 3 hours. Yeah, it's confirmed.
Like
3 hour film,
which is long. But I'm pleased they've done that though, rather than just cutting so much out to cut it down to like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and to go, oh well, you haven't covered this, and this.
Yeah.
At least if it's 3 hours, you can go, oh they've covered everything, which I'm quite pleased about. I'd rather they did that.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of speculation with a lot of characters on here. It's like talking about how the trailers revealed how the Hulk returns.
You've got the whole Professor Hulk thing.
Yeah, and then Captain
and
Marvel.
Obviously it looks like
well.
Ant-Man's going to have a big role.
It's so funny. Paul Rudd's just going to save the universe.
Yeah,
the guy from fucking like Anchorman.
It could possibly go that way, couldn't
It'd be so jokes.
Looking like it because
in the first trailer, it obviously shows that they don't know he's alive,
and then he pops up,
he pops up, and they're that bit where he's like, oh, is this an old message and stuff like that. That's that gives you a bit of like that gave me a bit of goosebumps.
I mean, both trailers, he's had like a very big part to play.
He has, yeah.
So I feel like it would be odd if he had such a huge kind of role in the first two trailers to then for him to just not really do anything in the film would be a bit odd.
Nah, he'll have a big part for sure.
I mean, sticking in terms of like the superheroes and stuff, I didn't actually note this down. But I'm interested to get your opinions. Obviously, Marvel pretty much dominate like the whole superhero film like kind of market. But there's the whole thing with DC at the moment, obviously trying to edge their way into it with the whole. Obviously, they've got the what's it called again, like Justice League, kind of stuff. But I was looking the other day. Have you seen how many Joker films they have in development?
We spoke about that, yeah.
So we've spoken about this briefly. Obviously, we haven't with you, Sam. But I don't know if you've looked at it. They have it's something like 3 Joker films in development at the moment, and none of them are linked. So obviously they're continuing on with Jared Leto as the Joker from Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So they're making another Suicide Squad film. They're making a sequel. But I believe they've pushed that back to something like 2022. Yeah. Like it's not coming out for another like 3 years or something from what I've been reading. But they've also got a standalone Joker film coming out with Jared Leto as the Joker. They've obviously got another one coming out which is it's supposed to be coming out soon with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, which does look
looks
decent.
really good from the stuff that I've seen from it. Does look really good.
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be coming out this year. That was
it's just the other one that
I'm just looking at now.
So confusing.
It's just called Joker, apparently, with Joaquin Phoenix. So there straight away, you've got two separate Joker films, two completely different storylines, and then there is supposedly another one, which I don't know if it's been 100% confirmed because I haven't really been keeping up with.
There hasn't really been much talk about the other one.
Another one with Leonardo DiCaprio supposedly playing the Joker. I don't know where that fits in, but I'm having a look here. This is an article from last year.
Wasn't Scorsese meant to like direct it or something as well?
Yeah, it's
so
not. They've not
odd.
said anything about it. So apparently, according to this article, I don't know how true it is. DC has 6 Joker films in development at the moment. So there's, according to this, a Joker Suicide Squad spin-off. So obviously a Suicide Squad film with just Jared Leto as the Joker. There's a Joker origin movie, which is that the one with Joaquin Phoenix as?
Let's have a look.
Yes. So this is the one with Jared Leto, the Joker origin film, which obviously is the one I mentioned before, which is coming out this year. They're releasing another film which has the Joker in it, which is the Gotham City Sirens, which is another Suicide Squad spin-off. So I assume that if the Joker's going to be in that one again, then it would be Jared Leto. Then there's a Harlequin spin-off as well. But yeah, so apparently there's I don't know. It keeps coming in
things, man. It's like it's too much.
It keeps coming and going, but there's supposedly one with Leonardo DiCaprio in the works as well. But I just don't know where it fits in. It feels like they're trying to release like so many films to try and catch up with Marvel. Sorry.
Yeah. There's no. I don't actually see with them bringing out all these Joker films. There's no. Even if there is a storyline, there's not. They're not going to be able to match what Avengers have got.
There's not
and
enough
Marvel
for
have
it.
got because that's just.
Also, just because you're releasing a lot of films with completely separate storylines, like none of them are linked. They're all just completely different.
They'll end up losing money on it. I think it just.
I don't doubt that they'll make money. I don't
and there's
doubt
this
that.
whole thing about Ben Affleck publicly saying, "Oh, I'm not Batman anymore."
Yeah, so he's so
they're losing their main guy.
They're now looking for another Batman. But I never rated Ben Affleck as Batman anyway.
I didn't really
because I feel like Christian Bale was so good that was just
you can't top Bale.
Yeah, you can't really top that one. But also going back to the Marvel one, something we talked about earlier on. Is this whole like Rotten Tomatoes, whatever you want to say, how you want to call it?
Gotta love it.
Controversy at the moment where, so I believe the audience rating that it had was around 30-something%. So obviously not great. And then overnight, or however long it took.
This is for Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
Upwards of sort of like 50,000 reviews. Just disappeared. So all these negative reviews just disappeared of the Rotten Tomatoes website, bringing the sort of overall rating back up to around 55%. Apparently, Rotten Tomatoes have claimed that it was a bug.
Yeah.
So something went wrong, which accidentally deleted all these negative reviews.
Bullshit, isn't it? It's so bullshit.
Yeah, it just doesn't add up, does it? Really? I mean, like a huge film coming out and then all these bad reviews just disappearing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you guys think about it, but there's a bit of a theory that Disney have just sort of paid. To
a lot of people have been saying it's not to sound sexist.
Yeah.
But it's because it's a solo female.
Yeah.
Lead film.
And I feel like it's a bit sort of been underhyped. I've heard nothing about it, to be honest. Like I saw something about it.
Other than this Rotten Tomatoes thing that's going on, this is the only thing I've heard about the film.
Comparing it to obviously something like Endgame.
It's just
there's not enough hype for it.
The difference in marketing, I think, is just incredible. I mean, I don't know if it's probably because it's a bigger film, and it's got a bigger following. But I think still it's
Also,
it's a part of the story, obviously, as Captain Marvel. So it should.
Where does the Captain Marvel film fit into the?
It's like set in the 90s, so it's like before Avengers started, and there's in the film it like explains how that like makes Nick Fury start the whole Avengers thing.
Okay, I just haven't really.
It's not really like
I haven't really heard anything about it, so I'll probably go and see it. I might not, to be fair.
I think you don't really need to. All you need to know is that it's set in the 90s. She fights a couple of alien dudes.
Yeah.
Nick Fury's there. He loses his eye. Yeah. Avengers is set up a few years later.
The Avengers.
I don't think if you're gonna go watch Endgame, you don't really need to see Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I think I'd only go watch it if
it was linked.
If it's
not linked, then I probably won't bother.
I mean,
it's linked, but it's not importantly linked. It's just like, oh, all right, cool.
It depends how big of a role she has in Endgame. Really. Yeah.
Plus, I know there's not a lot of hype around the character in general.
No.
It feels like I know there's this whole thing going on in Hollywood at the moment about having kind of important female characters, and obviously Captain Marvel's been around for years and years, but it feels like they've just sort of brought her in.
I get what you mean.
More to kind of go, oh look, there's this kind of really big female lead in it.
Because Brie Larson, I don't know if you've seen it. There was this like there's this whole speech she gives.
Was it about the film critics?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then she made this really weird comment. Where is it?
Is it the one where she says that something like 60%
She keeps giving all these facts.
I think she's saying about 60% of film critics are like white males.
Yeah, and then she keeps saying, but it doesn't mean I hate white males.
Yeah, but then also says that they can't really criticise films because these films aren't aimed at them.
Yeah.
And it's almost like saying, oh, because there's apparently this Disney film that she really loved called A Wrinkle in Time or something.
Yeah.
Which got like super bad reviews.
She says, I don't want to hear what a white man has to say about A Wrinkle in Time. I want to hear what a woman of colour, a biracial woman has to say about the film. I want to hear what teenagers think about the film.
But what does it matter? Like, at the end of the day, the film's getting reviewed. If it's a shit film, then it's a shit film.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone's going to have their own opinions. You know what I mean? It's just that. Yeah, I don't know. These people have been. It's their job. They are film.
She made a really weird comment about people of colour finding it really hard to be in a Hollywood film.
Yeah,
she's not a person of colour. Like, you know.
It almost feels like she's trying to kind of appeal to
other people.
I don't think that's the person of colour thing. That can't be true, can it? Because if you look in the recent Avengers film, perfectly balanced in my opinion. I think.
And then you look at Black Panther and films like that.
But then done so well.
Yeah,
and an incredible character as well.
Yeah, exactly. It did well at the Oscars as well. And then people are like, oh, but there's only one film. But there's been, you know.
Yeah.
I'd say in the last 20 years, you've had a fair.
And there's so many more now. You've got to look at, like, not in terms of comic book films, but like Black Klansman came out recently, which did like insanely well.
Did really good.
I didn't know what it was really weird. I don't know what she was trying to say by all of that. Yeah. It didn't really make much sense to me. But yeah, I suppose we should try and move on to something else. So yeah, moving away from the kind of comic book film. There's been a few sort of big documentaries out recently.
Yeah, it seems to be the big thing at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot of documentaries coming out about a lot of different topics. But earlier on today, Netflix announced that they're going to have a documentary series. I think it's 8 parts covering the Madeleine McCann case, which is actually going to be released tomorrow. So they've only announced it today.
That's insane.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a. It seems odd that they just release it like tomorrow. It seems like it's just sort of come out of nowhere.
It could be one of the biggest documentaries this year. And
I'm really interested to watch it because I think it's such an interesting case, and there's really not been too much coverage in terms of documentaries and stuff about it. You've had the little sort of Channel 4-esque documentaries
on a Friday night,
like here and there that have been like 45 minutes long. But for like an 8-part series on Netflix, yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what it sort of covers.
This is interesting. I've just looked up again some of the newspapers that are coming out with articles about the Netflix documentary, and the Sun have had one where it says, "We'll find out what happened." That's in bold letters. And then it goes on to say, Madeleine McCann is alive after being abducted by traffickers, claims Netflix documentary.
Really?
How true that is, I don't know.
Yeah, I was sort of interested to see what stance they took, because obviously there's this huge thing about kind of
there's so much
parents having involvement in it.
Yeah.
And obviously it's interesting to see what avenue they'll take to say whether she was abducted or whether...
That's a big thing to say, that she's still alive.
You just... It's been like 12 years now, and the thing is, no one knows. Like, it must be one of, if not like the biggest missing persons case.
I'd say it is the biggest one of like the last decade.
I think because
it's
of
crazy.
the time it happened, you sort of... There wasn't a lot going on in terms of massive disappearances, I don't think. And I think this was one of the first biggest disappearances ever to happen.
Obviously, there's been...
and how the parents dealt with it as well, and the amount of coverage they got from the news, I think made it such a massive story.
I think also a lot of the intriguement from it comes from the way the parents acted and are still acting around it.
Because apparently they've condemned the new
from what I've read and from what Jordan told me before, apparently the parents are trying to get the documentary to not be released. Perhaps that's why Netflix have only released the info like the day before, because they knew that they were going to get backlash from the family. I don't know, but I can't see them stopping it.
According to
I'd be shocked.
The Metro and other newspapers, the Netflix documentary claims that she is alive and was abducted by traffickers.
So that she was abducted. So that it's not anything to do with the parents.
Yeah, apparently.
That's interesting. I don't know.
I'm not sure how the newspapers would know this, because obviously the documentary isn't out yet.
Early press release or something. They might have had an early viewing.
That's either fact or someone's making a cheap story.
Yeah.
It's difficult because
this is coming from just,
especially with the Sun. You know what I mean? They don't
the
have a
Sun,
great track record.
Daily Star, shit like that. It's just unreliable, isn't it?
If you look online, like, I'd say about 90% of the theories seem to think that the parents had an involvement in it. So I'd be interested to see how they kind of cover that, and if there is any pointing towards the parents. Especially when you look at the kind of what went on, especially within like the last week. The first week of her going missing. Like for instance, her mum, I believe she refused in police interviews. She refused to answer questions about like the disappearance. Obviously, there was the whole thing where they found blood in the apartment and in the back of their rental car.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously it happened in a different country.
Yeah, and it's foreign police. Well, I'm not saying that the foreign police aren't
the Portuguese
as
police
good as British police, but it's a different situation.
I'm sure they do a good job. But
I mean, it's
also
a difficult
the family.
one.
They hired private investigators, didn't they?
Yeah, because they've done that because
the
communication between the Portuguese and the British police was terrible, apparently.
Yeah.
So when the investigation got dropped, I think it was they hired private investigators to.
But also, there's theories
is that to throw off the scent?
There's also theories
Probably.
that these private investigators that they hired, sort of went all they were cracked up to be, and they were possibly dodgy. Obviously, no one really knows. This is the thing. It's been like 12 years.
I'd love it if they found her, or if she just came back.
It's been going on for so long now that
such a massive thing.
No one knows, and it's such an interesting topic.
I mean, there's still here. There's the Birmingham Mail says Madeleine McCann Netflix documentary claims missing Brit is still alive. So there must be something about in the Netflix documentary that there must be some sort of, there is speculation about her being alive, but there must be some sort of evidence that must
that she's
for
still
Netflix
about.
to be able to believe that she's still alive.
There must be something.
Bring back McCann, I say.
Netflix has nailed documentaries, so I
they
think
don't tend to release shit, do they?
No.
Yeah, a lot of it's.
It'd be amazing if she's still alive. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Wow.
And obviously the other documentary that's out at the moment, which I've not seen, I don't know if Sam has, but I know Jordan's not quite finished it yet.
Yeah.
Is the Michael Jackson documentary. What's it called?
Leaving Neverland.
Leaving Neverland. Yeah. I've not seen it. I know bits and pieces about it.
It's interesting.
I haven't watched it yet. I've heard a lot of speculation about it.
From what I've heard, it doesn't look good for him. I will watch it.
It's not good for him at all.
I've been tied up watching other things at the moment, and I haven't sort of wanted to jump between the two.
I sort of went in being 50-50. Like, it could be true, but it also could be absolute bollocks.
I don't want to believe that
I don't want to believe
it, because obviously he's, like, for someone who, especially as Michael Jackson, probably the biggest singer to ever have hit.
I don't think anyone wants it to be true, just because, as you said, like, he's if not the biggest artist of all time. He's huge. His music's everywhere.
Yeah.
Quite literally, like the king of pop music. So and obviously it's difficult. I'm not comparing it to the Jimmy Savile thing, but it's difficult because he's not round anymore. So I don't think anyone's ever gonna know exactly what happened, because
and there is
on both sides there's always
lack of evidence, and I think the only evidence there is
the word of the
is people coming out and making allegations against him.
I'm not saying
don't believe those people, but it's going to be hard to get anywhere, isn't it?
I mean, the things about two kids who are now grown up, one called Wade Robson and one called James Safechuck, and one of them was, I think it was Wade, who was so inspired by him. Like, he'd be in dance competitions doing a Michael Jackson act. He got picked up by this agency and thought, we need to contact Michael about him.
Yeah, that's how he got involved with him, isn't it?
Yeah, and then they met Michael, him and the family. And they were from Australia originally, and they flew over to America.
Yeah, they moved over to the US, didn't they? To essentially be near him.
Yeah.
From what I've read, as I say, I've not watched the documentary, but I know little bits.
And then he invites them to Neverland.
Yeah.
And they're doing this big American holiday. They want to go to Grand Canyon, or want to go to Chicago and stuff. And then at one point when they've been to Neverland for a few days, and then they're like, oh, let's go to the Grand Canyon. But Wade's like, I want to stay here with Michael. And Michael's like, oh, I want him to stay. So he stays for an extra 5 days whilst the family go off.
Yeah.
And then he stays for another 5 days, and then another 5 days. Yeah. And it's just 15 days of just him and Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, it's odd, isn't it? Because when you break it down, it's he was 40 years old. It's like a 40-year-old man is spending so much time with a kid, essentially. Like, how old was he at the time? Like,
I don't
15 or something?
Because
I don't know how old he was.
I think it will happen in it was in the 90s. I remember now. It was 93 and 94.
Either way, you know what I mean? It's a 40-year-old man spending an incredible amount of alone time with a child who he's not related to, doesn't have any kind of links to.
Some of the facts, there's this whole bit about Michael traps him in a hotel room, and they do this whole wedding ceremony. The guy talks about it was like a relationship instead of it being
I mean, I do find it odd that
a friendship.
He had this whole sort of place dedicated to
being a child.
To essentially I've never actually seen pictures of it. I'm looking at pictures now.
It's a very odd looking place when you look at it. He had there was a theme park.
He had a
fair
farm with alpacas and fucking elephants and giraffes and shit.
His whole house was essentially made. He wanted it to look like a mini kind of Disneyland, didn't he? That's what he wanted.
Because there's a whole bit where he's like, I could never go to Disneyland on my own because there'd be crowds going there.
So essentially, he made his own.
He made his own place.
But I just think I don't know. It's an odd situation. But then again,
I just don't get because they interview the parents as well in the documentary. It's some of the shit they say, I'm just how could you not fucking
The parents are allowing a child to spend so much time with this 40-year-old man. But then again, when you think about it, he was the biggest celebrity alive at that time. He was huge. So it's sort of it's hard because you kind of look at it and think why would you let your child spend so much time with a 40-year-old man?
Yeah.
But he was Michael Jackson.
It's like at one point after the 15-day thing, Michael Jackson asked the mum, "Can I have Wade for a year?" That's just fucked, isn't it?
Just have their child for a year.
Just have him. Yeah.
That's odd. It sort of makes me think as well on another kind of documentary. I don't know if any of you guys have seen Abducted in Plain Sight.
Yeah,
I haven't. I've heard about it though.
Yeah.
So yeah, a kind of similar thing happens there. So there's this whole story about the mum and dad meeting this kind of guy who's moved into the neighborhood. Like really charming guy, perfectly normal. No one's sort of had any reason to doubt what he was like. Spends a lot of time with this family. I think they had 3 daughters. And then he sort of got just really obsessed almost with their oldest daughter. I can't remember the name of her. But like started spending a lot of time with this daughter and was like buying her presents and all sorts. But as I say, from like at that point, from a family's perspective, they just thought, he's kind of really nice guy coming to the family. He's taking a shine to the kids. They really like him. Nothing to kind of worry about. So eventually, he went to go take her horse riding one night, and then they just disappeared.
Yeah.
Pretty much brainwashed her.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
So the parents. It's odd because the parents didn't notify the police straight away because they're like, she's with whatever the guy's name was. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So they didn't notify the police. I mean, obviously, looking back, it's like, he's obviously kidnapped her. But for them, they're like, it's a really close family friend. He wouldn't do that. Something must have happened. Like the car's broken down. But essentially, it turns out they'd gone away somewhere. They were in an RV or something like that. He drugged her and was essentially brainwashing her.
Yeah.
So she said she woke up and there's this little white box next to the bed. It was like an intercom basically, and it was supposedly she was under the impression that it was aliens telling her that she'd been abducted, that they'd both been abducted, and
she needs to have sex.
She had to
save.
Yeah, she had to have sex with him
Save the
in order
world.
to save the universe. And as like she was like 7, 8 years old.
Fucking bollocks is that?
So as like a 7, 8-year-old kid,
so
she
mad.
believed it.
Yeah.
And believed that she was on this kind of like mission sent.
Well,
from
because
aliens.
he was such a manipulative person. In order to gain more access to the kid, he done sexual things with the parents.
Yeah, so with
both the
of them.
parents.
The mum. So he was sleeping with the mum.
Yeah.
So he's got 3 on the go essentially.
Yeah. So
And
in
then
order
done stuff with the father as well.
Yeah.
In order to sort of gain.
But eventually, anyway, so the girl goes home. Like the whole thing, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but she gets home. And obviously, as a parent, you'd be like, "This guy's kidnapped my daughter." Like, he kidnapped her at the end of the day. But because the girl's basically brainwashed into the fact that she's thinking, "I need to have sex with this like 40-year-old man."
Yeah.
The family basically keep allowing the guy to spend time with the daughter.
It's just the neighbour. That's what they think.
Yeah, because it's just. But then again, like he kidnapped her.
They went on to get married, didn't they? Legally married in Mexico.
Yeah, so he essentially, after all this, kidnapped her again.
Wow.
And then took her to California, I think, put her into a boarding school. He then disappeared as well. But the family was still in contact with both of them, which is really odd. So the family was still in contact with the man that they knew kidnapped their daughter, and they were saying how in love they were and how they were going to get married.
Somewhere else.
The poor girl was brainwashed into thinking that she needed to have his kid. But yeah, the family knew about the whole thing, and then so in between them disappearing the 2 times, they found out that he had a problem with children. Essentially, that he was attracted to children. So the family were aware of this. And he said to them that as his part of his rehab, he needed to be near children. So they didn't doubt it. So he slept in the same bed as the daughter for around, I think it was 3 months. Slept in the same bed as her every night. So the girl shared a bed with her sister. Shared a bedroom with her sister, sorry. It was a big room, so he convinced them to put like a wall up in between. So that's creepy, obviously.
Yeah.
He built a wall in between them so that they were separated, so that the other sister didn't know what was going on. But the parents knew he was sleeping in the same bed as their like 8-year-old daughter.
Would you do that? I mean, as a parent, you just wouldn't let them.
Yeah.
Surely.
And then after all this, he slept with the mum again. So the mum and dad got divorced because of this whole thing that had gone on, and then she slept with him again. So he essentially manipulated this whole family into getting exactly what he wanted. And I don't think he ever went to prison for it, did he? He was never prosecuted for it. I
can't remember what happens at the end.
It's a very odd documentary. Yeah, it's definitely worth watching if you haven't. Obviously, we've probably given away some spoilers there.
I mean, yeah.
Most people I think have watched
now,
it, but it's a very odd situation.
I mean, if you think about it, that's like the most.
But the parents knew about everything. That's what you have to remember, is that the parents knew the whole time. They knew what was going on.
They wanted to be with that guy. Both of them.
Also, forgot to mention, the guy had a wife and kids this whole time.
Yeah. And both families were extremely close.
So his wife and kids are just there in the background, basically, the whole time. What was his wife thinking when he was out sleeping with an 8-year-old girl every night?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
you go do that.
That's fine.
That's fine.
You just crack on, man.
No, we might get a documentary out of this in a few years.
Yeah, great.
Be fine.
It's a really odd situation. Obviously, this is in like the 70s or something. So the girl's fully grown up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she was.
She's written a book about it. She's done all sorts of like good stuff around it, basically.
I mean, I think documentaries like this are extreme. Like something that Netflix is doing right at the moment is. I think it helps to like sort of bring a lot of these stories to light for people who went through like obviously such terrible times. And there's not a documentary, but a series that have just come out called 3 Girls.
I've not
heard.
It's
it's on Netflix, and it's basically a reenactment throughout the whole thing, and it's basically these 3 girls who are basically groomed to prostitution. It's set in the UK. I can't remember which town it was set in, but it was these.
So is it a true story? Is it
true story?
Okay.
3 girls. Wow. This girl just moved to this town, and she's finding it difficult to make friends at school and all that. And she met a boy, went round this boy's house, met that boy's friends, which were 2 other girls who were involved with this group of men that had this sort of prostitution ring.
Jesus.
And basically groomed these 3 girls for about 4 weeks, giving them alcohol, free food at this curry place.
Nice.
And I mean, honestly, it is incredible, because what those men done to those girls was horrible, and I think it took about something like 3 to 4 years for them to actually get the men prosecuted and put in jail for it, because evidence just got dropped from the police. And all the girls done interviews talking about it, and the police dropped the investigation. And then the social worker brought the investigation to the police so many times with all this evidence. Police ignored it. And a couple of years later, they reopened it and used all of that evidence and caught the men.
Wow.
Got them prosecuted. Amazing.
Interesting.
Brilliant. Like the perspective Netflix showed it in was.
Yeah,
incredible.
Good.
I feel like I was watching the real thing, like unfold.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a watch. I've never
honestly give it a watch.
That sounds really good.
It makes you sort of think, like, made me feel quite lucky. To be honest, because
so many documentaries,
so many things that have happened to people that was horrible.
Moving on to something else as well. We were having a look through the news earlier on, trying to have a look at things to talk about. And we found something that. One of the oddest things I've sort of read about in recent times. So Volkswagen, or VW, obviously the maker of the cars, have basically been slammed for their chief executive was at a company event and used a German phrase, meaning the English translation is "work sets you free." Which, for those of you who don't know, it's so bad. It's kind of funny.
I know.
It basically was what the quote that they used on the gates of Auschwitz. So obviously one of the biggest concentration camps.
Yeah.
Work sets you free one of the biggest concentration camps there was. And obviously, it
that
doesn't
was
look
placed
good.
in all the concentration camps, wasn't
yeah.
it?
I think it might have been.
Works
Obviously, doesn't look good as it is.
No.
Using a concentration camp slogan at a company
Surely,
meeting.
I mean, that's not a. That's a mistake. That's not like an easy mistake, is it?
No,
like,
it's not an easy mistake to
If you
make.
work for a German car manufacturer, that was
But when you look
pretty
at
much
the
produced
history,
by the
like
when you
Volkswagen
start
and
to look
stuff,
at the history of Volkswagen and find that it was founded in the Nazi era as part of Hitler's kind of vision to help out German families. So for those of you who don't know, he had a massive hand in designing the VW Beetle. Because he wanted kind of affordable cars.
They made this. To basically improve the economy, they made this car, which was like a
cheap,
sort of like a reward for doing a certain. I can't really remember. If you worked a certain amount,
they wanted to make
the car.
You get privileges,
so you get a car essentially for like families,
which
and
never
stuff
actually.
Like
He never actually fulfilled that promise.
No, but they did end up
it was
releasing
manufactured,
them
as
cheap cars for families and that kind of thing. So they say straight away you've got Hitler helping VW design cars, and then later using one of his biggest concentration camp.
It's just the last thing you want in this sort of time.
When you look at it even deeper, when they were making the first VW cars, they used around 15,000 slave labourers that they picked up from concentration camps in order to make the cars. So obviously the whole "work sets you free" phrase was around before then. It's always been around. But the fact that it had such a strong link to the Nazi Party, and so did VW when you look at it, obviously we're not insinuating that VW are Nazis. It's not what's happening.
That's not what we're saying.
But yeah, it's really not a good thing to have come out with for such a huge global brand.
Have they apologised or anything? Or, to anyone who is offended?
I think they have apologised.
They must have done. That's,
I mean, it's a big thing, really, isn't it?
He has apologised. But yeah, sorry. Here we go. I'm not going to try and pronounce his second name because he's German and I don't speak German. But he said he was sorry for what he described as definitely an unfortunate choice of words.
Yeah, that's
unfortunate.
A bad day at work.
It was unfortunate that our guy
and said that it was placed in false context.
Well, I think in terms of especially Volkswagen making mistakes. Now
they did acknowledge
really
that they have a quote special responsibility in connection with the Third Reich. It's such it is an unfortunate choice of words, but I think for someone in such a big position of power, for such a huge
especially
brand,
as Volkswagen
that really should have been checked over.
And the car industry, I think, is sort of economically at the moment in decline because of everything that's going on.
Especially with VW, because they've had stuff going on in the
make
past.
That mistake is sort of something.
It's
Volkswagen
is it
to be checking.
I own a Volkswagen. That's
you must feel a bit.
I feel
as a Volkswagen user.
I'm offended.
As a Volkswagen owner and a huge
gonna have to get a new car now.
Of the Nazi Party.
I'd like to think not.
Just to clarify, he is not.
He does not support the Nazis.
Is not a supporter of the Nazis.
No. No, it's just
nor Volkswagens actually.
Nor Volkswagens now. Yeah.
Wishes he had a Kia.
Bloody good at speeches though, that Hitler was.
Great talker.
Great talker.
Yeah. I mean, he was when you look at the footage. It's hard. It's hard to admit, but he was a great public speaker.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of, I don't want to, obviously.
Also, can I just clarify that we're not backing Hitler?
No,
we're not
backing Hitler.
We're not saying that Hitler was a good guy. He was clearly a very evil man.
Yeah.
When he picked up the Germany after World War One, in terms of economically, he beefed it up. Basically, he brought it back because they were in all sorts of shit with the reparations from the Treaty of Versailles.
They were in a massive
basically
state.
He did a lot in terms of economically for the country. He did a lot, but then it's also completely, and rightly so. I think that's pretty much all we had to talk about for today.
A bit of sports, bit of film.
Obviously, we're gonna try and make this a weekly thing. Just talk about sort of what's happened over the past week. obviously, if anyone who does watch this has any sort of particular things that they want us to talk about, we're pretty much open to anything. We're very happy to.
And we look to cause no offence as well if we talk about anything that's caused. We just a couple lads talking about.
Yeah, I think things and some stuff.
That's the key thing. We don't really exactly plan exactly what we're going to talk about. We have we have a list of notes. So anything that does come up is purely sort of come up on the spot. We don't sit and plan this. So
we don't. Yeah, we
don't, of course, that we don't condone.
We don't do that.
We don't condone Nazis.
No, we don't. We don't condone any of the things that soft subjects we talked about today.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we had a quick chat about that we'd love to do as well is if people did have problems, or we'd like to do like an agony aunt kind of,
we'll answer your questions, your
listeners'
queries.
corner, any questions, any concerns, any life problems that you may have. We'd love to hear about, and
but we do have access to that actually, because in this room I think there is like a phone-in feature.
Oh yeah.
If I can work out how to
use that,
and maybe if we can get this other screen working as well, we can have like a live chat going. Like that.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
One of the things we didn't mention as well, we do have another member of the podcast who couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in this room, there's not enough mics for him.
Yeah, we also only have 3 mics. So that's going to be interesting.
He's hard at work rehearsing.
Yeah, obviously you guys can't see this, but there is another room that is separated with a big soundproof wall and some glass.
Yeah.
So he can't
I might request a curtain.
Sorry.
Also, we have filmed this one. We're going to see how the footage of that turns out. If we can use it, then obviously we're going to use it. But we do look to have a better camera setup in the future, so we can sort of record anything. But any feedback that you guys do have would be very welcome. As I say, if there's any things that you want us to talk about, we are looking at possibly getting some guests on as well. We have a few people in mind. And also, just in terms of the overall YouTube channel as well, we're going to start doing some other videos.
Other content.
Other content, not just the podcasts. We've got a few things that we're kind of working on at the moment that we're hopefully going to get out sort of as soon as possible.
It's sort of in the pipeline at the moment.
Yeah.
Really.
Get that going.
Yeah, there's a few big things that we think would go down very well. So we're going to have a look at that. And obviously, any support that we can get. And if you have enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe.
Leave a like.
Any comments. And
turn
also
notifications on.
Hit that bell.
Hit the
for
bell.
Notifications. Currently, I think our YouTube channel at the recording of this podcast has
zero
subscribers. So hopefully we need to get the numbers up.
So if you'd like to be the first subscriber to our YouTube channel,
we'd be grateful.
Whoever is our first subscriber to the YouTube channel, come on the show.
Yeah, come on the show.
It'd probably be me.
Yeah,
just subscribe.
Yeah, I can't have myself as a guest. So yeah, we would actually love to have guests, not just people that we'd like to book on, but if anyone else has stuff that they'd love to talk about, we'd be more than welcome to getting anyone on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it for today, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.